options as far as positioning the bus if it's a little tricky sighting. So don't be shy about yelling stop if you see something out there, and every once in a while you'll yell stop and it turns out to be a bush. It's no big deal. It happens every once in a while. I've had times where I saw something that was under a little bit more unusual lighting condition, and I even said, oh, I think we got a bear coming up here, and it turned out to be a bush. So it happens to the best of them with different lighting. So. This is the Savage River Bridge here. This is the other area. Actually, it's not as full as I thought it would be on a fairly nice day. Usually this parking lot's full if the weather is not raining at the time. Stop for a quick photo from a couple of photos from the bridge, and then we'll have the park ranger get on the bus and welcome you folks. This is a nice view up the Savage River.
This place was formed in 1917 primarily as a wildlife preserve. Here to protect the tall sheep, but also moose, caribou, bears, wolves, and all the other wildlife in this place. We've realized since then though, it's not just about the animals, it's about the entire landscape. The mountains, the rivers, the glaciers, the entire 6 million acres here for us to enjoy, appreciate, and learn from. So as you're going down this road, make sure you keep watch out your windows, because you never know what you're going to see out there. Make sure you're listening to your driver, because I'm sure there's all sorts of information for you. I hope you have a great time here in your national park.
There is a deck overlooking the river at the rest stop. We're going to be crossing the Teklanika River here. Once we go across this bridge, there are going to be times where I'm going to be stopping to yield to other vehicles coming the other way, so just be prepared, especially for quick stops, because those do happen suddenly sometimes around corners. Also remember, yell out that stop loud if you do see that wildlife out there. So. That's 6 million acres. This area, this is a permanent wildlife closure. It's been closed since the late 1950s. This area, a couple of really small places that are closed for nesting areas. And right now, that area around Eielson Visitor Center where the problem bears are, that's the only part of it, 6 million acres that you can't hike in. So lot of territory to explore. So where are we looking? Oh yeah, it's hovering. It's coming out to the left. It's an eagle. It went right into the sun on the left there. So yeah, it's diving down to the left at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be pretty hard to keep up with the eagles today because it's real windy and they don't tend to hold position very well on real windy days. It's not right out there pretty good though. That's a golden eagle once again. Some of them spend the winters here. Some of them migrate down to the Rocky Mountain states. They've done real limited studies, and about 75% migrated out for the winter to the Rocky Mountain states, and about 25% nested here, stayed here during the winter. We'll continue on. He's staying in sight pretty well. Still hard to keep up with the camera. So coming up here is this we call pretty rocks because of all the real colorful rocks in here, but this is the biggest engineering challenge on the whole road. This gully in front of us has been slowly moving, sliding down towards the river, and the speed of that slide has increased quite a bit the last few years. So they're getting to the point where they're not sure whether they can keep up with in the future if it increases even a little bit more. They're doing some studies down below the road where it's finding out what's going on as far as fluid and everything else in there to see why that increase has happened. It's probably more fluid moving through there with a little bit warmer temperatures and more melting. And once they do that study, they'll have a pretty good idea of what their options are at that point. None of them sound very, very inexpensive or very, very doable actually in some cases, but they're all going to be on the table. So we've got just a couple minutes till we get to Polychrome Overlook. We'll be there for about 10 minutes. There are no restrooms here at Polychrome Overlook, but once we get back on the bus, it'll be about 25 minutes before we get to Toklat, and that's our restroom break and turnaround point. There are two different levels here at Polychrome. There's the bus level, and there's also some short gravel trails on the bluffs right above the bus. If you do go up to those upper levels, just take that time into account so you're back by our departure time. Give yourself an extra minute or two to come on down. And also make sure you use the stairs going up there and stay on the gravel portions of those trails. We're trying to minimize the erosion up there. It is very windy again, so keep that in mind. So we are going to try to leave here by, that's 2:46 now. So I've got a fairly full bus. a small concert hut there with a small version of the Alaska Geographic bookstore in there with the park ranger to answer any questions you might have. There's also some moose and caribou antlers on the benches right out in front of the concert hut. And also a couple of spotting scopes. In case you see any doll sheep up on the hillsides, you might see them on the either side of the valley. Stop. This one is a bit windier. This valley always funnels the wind if it's coming.